Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever on a day or you day in the world listening. We're coming to now from, well, three or more locations. You know, me and Mohammed Shilan coming to now from the United States, where I get me co-host today, Mr. Um, Jalo Jamboria, where they Norway. My other co-host, Mr. Mengot, is not going to be appearing today. So, because of some personal matters, then we get a distinguished guest on the show today, Dr. Jonathan Sandy, we an expert in national international affairs. In go tell we more. I don't want to go into any elaborate introduction. Particularly, I don't want to say anything we may not fairly represent who he is. But I do know he's an expert. I do know he worked or still works for the United Nations. And I know he is head of the National Unity for Reconciliation Party in Freetown. And for all intents and purposes, I think he will be one of the presidential candidates in the next general election. So with that, Ingo tell we more about implants and the activities of Empathy. And we could touch on some national issues there. Of late, we've been getting a whole lot of things about drug trafficking or drug-related trafficking matters from Sierra Leone and about Sierra Leone. Some of them here have gone beyond rumors. Some of them involve we ambassadors them. We see where they say one of the ambassador in Ghana was arrested or was interrogated for possession of cocaine. We see you said and talking at Guinea about we ambassador in official vehicle was intercepted and then searched, and a large quantity of cocaine was found and a large amount of money also. And then we also hear about some international fugitive from Sweden who is using Sierra Leone as a safe haven, a trafficker, this fugitive international drug, cocaine trafficker. So there is a lot about our country of late, and then, even when they drop some of our people in Liberia chase some of our people out, the Sierra Leoneans, they are referred to as people. We also see situations where one of the accusations against Sierra Leonean people, and they link them with drug trafficking, drug transactions, and all of that. The gentleman, we then say the fugitive is from the Netherlands, not Sweden, sorry. So it's from the Netherlands. So, but we have become infamous for drugs of late. So we will ask Dr. Sandy, in your opinion, what do you think? And since he's been in the international field, for tell we how what is your feeling in with respect to what do you think about what's going on in our country about the drug problem? Then we also go like for talk to we about the Bintu Money agreement with the political parties then back home, and then what in your view, what are the economic challenges then we face in Sierra Leone? So we go like for deal with that. Of course, Mr. Jamboria is on board right now. So in a moment, I go pass the microphone to him to just tell the audience hello and introduce himself as usual. And we will do likewise for Dr. Sandy. And so just for make sure, say, everybody. And then from time to time, I will announce, I'll remind people, and we'll go project Dr. Sandy name now the screen so people will know who that it be. And because with the introduction, not to everybody go there with we from the beginning, so they may miss who he is. So from time to time, we'll go announce him and we'll project him. So also, we'll get a lot of questions for Dr. Sandy, and we'll hopefully we'll go try for tell we as best as we could some of the things then, particularly things like where are the rest of the other political parties then, because he's head of the NURP, the National Unity for Reconciliation Party. But there are other parties who only speak in terms of SFP and APC. So probably we're able to tell we how the other smaller parties then stand, and so on. So with that, let me just remind our audience let me just go over the numbers that we normally can reflect on the screen so people who want join me in the conversation or on the program can see which I for call. So this now, again, let me remind the audience, this is a VOS network. And we numbers them from North America, we get a toll-free number. We're in 866-944-7722. 866-944-7722. And I know, say, we all understand how a toll-free number works. It's free, regardless of where, if you're in North America. We cover Mexico, Canada, and the United States. If you're in one of them three countries there, you not get for call in till we show at your expense. You can call the 866-944-7722, and it will cost you nothing. Likewise, if you're calling from England, there is a free number, we'll refer to as a local number, where you will call if you're in the United Kingdom. That will be +44 2080891455. +44 2080891455. Likewise, if you call from Australia, that's a local number or a free number where you could call for reach the show when a +61 290984 337. +61 290984 337. And there is also a universal number when at the WhatsApp line, where regardless of which side you did, whether you did Sierra Leone, you did Alaska, any part of the world, unless the country from where you call ban or prohibits WhatsApp call, but it costs you nothing. And that number is 1-343-997-5828. 1-343-997-5828. That's the WhatsApp number. Also, we get a VOS radio on a 91.9 FM. 91.9 FM. So if you're in at the Freetown area, if you tune in, you will be able to get we. And if you get difficulty, sometimes if you get the VOS app, it will give you clear reception of the program. If you're going to the Google Play Store, or you're going to the Apple Store, the Apple App Store, and either one or both of those app stores, them will make you reach we easily. The Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. In addition to that, they carry we on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. So you also go able for reach with there. Then the YouTube, you just go to Voice VOS network. And then Facebook, go to Voice of Salon TV. And then for X, formerly Twitter, go to VOS Television. You forget them. Then VOS TV website, just go to www.vostelevision.com. And for the radio, if you want to listen to it on the radio via the internet, you can go to www.vosradio.com. Also, like I announced, if you want to go to if you want to get to it through Apple or the Google Play Store, let's go to VOS Television. Then we'll also get another medium where they carry we a Twitch TV. Twitch TV. So you're going to VOS Television, you will be able to get to it. And there is one thing where we also let people know where they try to give scholarships to certain kids them with a high school who are exceptionally or who are doing exceptionally well, but they are from very, very, very poor family. So there is a VOS Diaspora Scholarship Program where we encourage anybody who is interested for contact VOS and at vosdiaspora.org, www.vosdiaspora.org. Now for scholarship, it's a scholarship program for bright, ambitious, hardworking young people from deprived financial background. So we just try to encourage anybody, if nothing is too small for contribute towards that fund. So please, the Diaspora Scholarship Program Fund. Now, let me go to Mr. Jamboria, who is my co-host for today. Of course, he's been a regular co-host with Mr. Mengot. And then Mr. Jamboria, then you will pass it over to Dr. Sandy, who will say introduce himself to the audience, and then we will proceed for talk about some of the things them we want to talk about. When the topics will be this drug scandal, where they afflict Sierra Leone nowadays, and then something about the anti-terrorism laws, and then the Bintumani Hotel agreements. What type of democracy do we have? With that said, let me pass it over to Mr. Jamboria.
Yes, Shilon, thank you very much, sir. Fambul them on a good evening, on a kusha, a cabo, a piari sekeno, boa bishia. We go try for do we best today for dilate and discuss the issues, yeah. And when I get for be assured, say the man where they can talk to we. I hope he go introduce himself properly, but I know him as a true representation of Sierra Leone. Over to you, Mr. Shilon.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Dr. Sandy, over to you, sir. We want to let you introduce yourself, and then we'll move from there. So, back to you, Dr. Sandy.
Yes, sir. Thank you again, Lawyer Shilon, my brother from Norway. It's a pleasure to always have you, Mr. Jamboria. I'm sure we don't interact many 2 or 3 years ago. But now that the term is when they come back, I had to cool off because as we all know, we'll be very happy with the nature and type of the outcome within what they're expecting 2023. So in that confusion, some of we decide say we first sit down and wait and see what they go on. But really, it's a pleasure to be back. And my name is Jonathan Sandy. As Lawyer Shilon be briefly introduced me. My background, I woke during the time of President Tijan Kabar. I was in the National Security System, the State House. years, when I worked for over 6 to 7 or 9 years before I transitioned and joined UN system. I started UN career and was head of the UNDP governance and rule of law. But the tail within a state house, especially when I was chief of staff, one of the tasks when I be responsible for the establishment of the interaction of the law enforcement agencies and the criminal justice system, particularly for ensure that level of collaboration and cooperation for tackle transnational organized crime such as drug trafficking, small arms control. I was part of that pillar. We were able to do a number of activities related to that in terms of studies then early in the 1999, 2004, 2005, where we do a lot of work where I bring in the United Nations Office for Drugs and Crime during Tijankawa time. So for the first time, we then come on Salon before the war. During that term, they will bring in and begin can collaborate with we and work for address some of them phenomena. Then they will be see a threat to the consolidation of our peace and democracy will be come up from war. Now, as I did say, I engage tonight in this conversation along that line for say, yet with the institutional memories where some of we get, where have we got wrong? Why the trend and dynamics of transnational organized crime, where they try for resurface again our country. And therefore, I think we all go set mode, but we need for take stock of this, especially in terms of governance and accountability for the institution, the legal policy frameworks that we don't put in place, who side and day. So there are several questions we need for the interrogate with the objective of really not a partisan, I'm not here talking essentially as a politician as well, but also for talk like a person we don't go through that process. I take oath as somebody will go through national security and secret service, the intelligence services for Sierra Leone. Myself, not just like a soldier man and then policeman. We go through that process there in the past. So we need for engage, for make sure say we people then safe, because we take part of the objective of our national security while we set up the security system. We say now for create the enabling environment, all man able to go about in business, private sector, the media people, and that. So if we can't see say transnational organized crime now part of the two-way for Ambogwi as we try for consolidate with democracy and move forward for the agenda for prosperity of our people. They will therefore go up more than that. Secondly, and I also believe say like after we don't go to election or within at the second term of the current government, it's also time for a little reflect. That's why I like the topic where they talk about not only this drug scandal, where are they seeing a risk and we associated with what we're supposed for they do and move forward, but also within some of the reflection that we'll go make on governance issues and particularly the economic trend, the cost of living and economic hardship where people then they go through. So again, as I say, are they also on that note? And many people know that I don't participate in elections for presidential candidates. So when it comes to knowing Jonathan Sandy, we usually my friends and they call me JPG. I think I don't do me own a little bit. And I also feel say I don't work out of salon for 20 or more years. So when it comes to understanding the domestic needs then which your country need locally and then internationally and regionally, I think say I'm in a better position for engaging such a conversation. So once again, I'm a pleasure for there, and I hope that the conversation will go on well tonight. And I look forward to the questions that will then go come on the conversation. And I know that at the end of this panel with very experienced people then. I'd only listened to VOS with the other day when it was about the airport with Mr. Mengo and then definitely Lawyer Shilon. I don't listen to this program. In the audios that we are the Kenya or the Addis Ababa, any side in the world, I don't spend me time for listening keenly to the conversation. And I also appreciate the calls the way they can inside for brother and sister across the world, whether na UK, na the US, na Salon. I don't listen keenly, and I always wish for be part of this process. So over to you, sir.
You are muted, Mr. Shillon. Mr. Shillon, you are muted.
Thank you very much, sir. Let me start off with Mr. Jamboria. Let a check the first question or pose the first question to Dr. Sandy, and be it the question on the drug scandal, be it in participation as a presidential candidate the next go around, and in official position, whatever. So, Mr. Jamboria, or the anti-terrorism law that you want to talk about. So please feel free, sir, to pose whatever question you may have to Dr. Sandy, because we don't say we could touch on the terrorism law if time allows. So, Mr. Jamboria, back to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I go pose just one question, but the rest na a comment we for discuss. My question to Dr. Sandy is why you not talk about Roach and Commander? I want to answer that first before they go forward. You should talk about Roach and Commander, because Sierra Leone is a polarized society, and you are one person representing non-polarization.
Mm-hmm.
So answer that, then I go to discussion issue.
No, as I say, for me, whether it's for me childhood transformation, I'm very grateful that Sierra Leone provided the opportunity to me, daddy, and many of me daddy influence and elders then say, at least I able for go school. My dad and mom come from the southeast, but waiting can happen in my life, then take me to boys' school Mabuka, government secondary school for boys Mabuka. From 1 to from 5 now, they are there. In fact, not only but the home more than say school they serve. Then Mabakri, Matutuka, many outside the USA, Cabo, then Komoma, Kent, Asabi, all those villages, and Masindi. And then when I come to college back, Ube College, I work extensively in the north. And you can't believe the 2 elections they were on team up as presidential candidate, Shillon and my brother. You can't believe that Dr. Bangura, Professor Bangura in Geneva, who is a renowned political scientist, he can always do analysis, political analysis on the outcome of elections and the candidates. I'm very proud that in terms of my campaign message there around how to close the gap in terms of identity politics, Mandela versus Timeline politics. Me votes then so far, very small, but also don't they come from the majority, don't they come from the northern region and Kono, even though I'm a Mende. And therefore, I'm very proud, and this they don't publish na Geneva, na magazines for say, look at maybe Salon culture, political culture, gradually go improve based on the certain phenomena where they begin to take root. And before Mr. Jamboria, you joined the conversation, me and Lawyers Shillon just they talk about when I say italics say we some of us when are politicians, we don't transition from being a technocrat to politician in the last 5 to 10 years. Some people not patient, but I am still there. And I believe based on, we all don't go through policy work, academic work, the research data we say, the minimum term for change the political culture of a society from way full of tribalism, nepotism, or regionalism, now 10, 15 years to 20 years. So unfortunately or regrettably, some of the people that will start 2018 will obviously will come, will get what we call the Accra agenda. We go to Accra, we conceive some political parties. They say we get formation, say, from 1960, 51, 60 something, 67, we see the blood battle. The TRC recommendation, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission report, where Reverend late Bishop Humperdinck published, clearly shows say some of the root causes of the conflict in Southern are based on this political ideology of Mandela versus Timberline. So on the basis of that, now I make some of we say, you know what, even though we come from that region, I mean the Southeast, but is it time now that when the TRC don't say part of the root causes of why we go into 11-year-old war, now where we divide the country, we pull it from where it's man the handover independent to we, right away in 1960 something, we begin divide Mandela versus Timberline. And that don't permeate, it don't go inside with blood. Even by when surname them, as you call it surname, so people then go class na salon now, whose party you dey, whether you're not green or red, you determine. For example, no doubt I can sit on a national TV, na AYV, I can ask some of the hosts and say, but when they say Jonathan, you're not going to know who belongs to say go visit a crow boy this on a Whitman. But then say Sandy, they say the rest of the other society in terms of the perception where we get, say, oh, na either Kono, na Mende, na Shabu, or na Gizi. Therefore, it belongs to SLPP. The same go for some other, if they say Otula, Ogbula, Bangura, many of the surnames say, Owe, OPC. So we are stuck in that dilemma. I see it as a political dilemma and a strategic dilemma for our country. So some of we say, follow where people that they vote seven at this country, as we all know. Now that side then they go and just the things in a competition, now electoral competition between Mandela and Timberline. And I make some of we over time, then they laugh we. But I would tell you, say, Lawyer Shillon, Pajambo, we don't catch momentum, say, we will stay the course. If we're not able to overcome then challenges then they, in terms of dividing we country where people then they vote, automatically say, oh, if me not Mende, then my umbilical cord tied to automatically to the SLPP. Then me not from the north, my umbilical cord tied to the APC. Now we could say some of you go to map and say no, that should not be, and that ideology now come on no side through the reports of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. I make when we say we want to drive that forward, we establish the National Unity and Reconciliation Party for drive that message. Unlike other political parties that came to the theater, we still did it, and they try to push that ideology. So I won't disappoint you, and the question we ask, I've lived in the north, I've lived in the south, I worked, I go school at inside and do all. Me na 41, 91 government secondary school boys, my Buka. Then I go CKC, then I teach Kenema. Then my dad took me all around, I cannot and born me. So I'm a Sierra Leonean, and I believe that. And I don't work here, Boya, Kashilom. I was in the fisheries sector before I joined national security. All the islands, the 253 islands, I know them. I had fisheries enumerators there, the marine, the coastal. That is why when it comes to drug and transnational organized crime, I'm very happy that I understand the dynamics and the trend around that.
Okay, Mr. Jambore.
Well, thank you very much. I do willfully because I know the man we can join with today. But coming to the drug issue, you and me, we know maybe some of the key fundamental causes behind this drug issue in Sierra Leone. You and me also know the drug issue had always been a problem in Sierra Leone, even from the days of Shaka Stevens. Because at the time of Shaka Stevens, he fell out with one of his most important funders, Ernest Shamel, when he got to know that Ernest Shamel was involved with the international drug cartels then. He excommunicated them from Sierra Leone. Fast forward, during the war years, there was little monitoring done by DEA or any of the international agencies. So the drug issue became deep-seated. As a matter of fact, it took root in Sierra Leone during the war and began showing face during the Ahmed Tijan Kaba regime. But the point at issue here, where I think say we need for begin look at and begin for put focus on, drug issue, they become a problem in any society where there are economic imbalances. When a government or when governments fail to plan properly for the society for developing human resources so that the people would have legal ways of making a living that is decent, it's very easy for drug dealers and other people for going to their countries than they. That is why areas like the Caribbean, areas like West Africa, Asia, you look across the global map, you see the demographics of drug trafficking, where are more prevalent and where are deep-rooted. So if we are looking at the drug issue, we may want to ask, why is it growing in Sierra Leone? Yes, we can point fingers at who are doing it, fine. But how do we stop it? What do we need to do as a people? What does the government need to do as an institution for begin control drug? Is it only by arresting people or by providing socioeconomic platform for make people able to get decent living? Drug is all over the world. It's in Norway, where I am talking from. But here it is controlled. Because nobody would leave a decent job where he can get $5,000 or $10,000 a month for go sit down, they sell drug, where then catch them, then go put on a jail, lost salting. Except, well, of course, we have people who don't know who they are, so they become very greedy. That's human nature. But that's the issue I want us to look at, Dr. Sandy, and I want to get your own view on that. Is he still with us?
I will hope so.
Yes. Now, as you know, return, because part of the challenge, I like to don't go back, so but we'll go on. I was in the CV. Sorry, the audience, the CV. But I think my voice they go to. I think that's very question. I think a very relevant and timely conversation. This, you know, like I said earlier, we are Sierra Leoneans with dignity, with image, and then with identity as Sierra Leonean. They are at stake. There are two things here. It's not just about the implication of waiting they go on now, this drug thing, but obviously all over the whole world, people will not be known Sierra Leoneans then too much as people the way that drug traffickers. But now it seems like we identity don't come into what they call it under fire, sharp focus. So therefore, we as both politicians, intellectuals, the media practitioner, the grassroots, government, we need to go beyond partisan politics and talk about that. Like what my brother Jambo will say, what you go do about this now? The trend, because that's where I agree with you, in a time for reflect. Why now? Why it just increase? For example, the time where I guess some of my former staff there, I should say them, they say that they joined this conversation today where they be working at the Central Intelligence Security Unit, when we, in those days, the early 2000, when we set up the transnational organized crime unit within the National Security Office, particularly for enhanced interaction between the law enforcement and the criminal justice system for tackle that kind of thing. Because we believe, say, not only through collaboration, level of cooperation, intelligence, gathering and exchanges and cooperation, you're able to deal with them there. So After we don't labor, in terms of reflection, after we don't labor for move Salone from war to peace, and then we'll put her to the path to peace consolidation, to recovery, to sustainable development. Because now that transformation plot where they move country out of war, now that when they talk about, say, you guys, if I die safe, when I remember I say Salone a part a day, transformation part, where they say part, now like a baby childhood where you born until they eye the grab tape pusher. We don't go into war. So the inside war, in can help we push we from war to peace. We sign the Lome agreement, everything, and then we use that agreement there for build with peace. We do what we call peace building. We build all the institution and back we come through, and then late former president Ernest Bai Koroma said, "Come, it take we from peace consolidation." And move it towards to post-war reconstruction, which how it begin make road, the light, and the economic sector can expand. The enable environment, the prepare the iron ore, the Barampa mines, then including the iron mines, the Maboka and other regions, then African mineral and London mining, they all be the tongue until we Ebola come. But even in that time, like the Jambo, they say we can begin to see the signs of drugs they appear, where we see by them they left State House now, but 2008, my team together with the police worked very hard for make sure that the two what we call counter surveillance now fly to them, they monitor for over 2 years in those days. So in a State House, they monitor drug traffickers. And then finally, 2008 got that kind into sharp focus. So now they will begin. But if you look at the trend and dynamics now, after 2008, then go undercover back, then things begin to die out. But most recently now, from 2014, particularly 2018, 19, 23, we begin to see the trend increase. And the danger about waiting, when they talk about now two levels. It's not just about the trafficking, but the ability for produce certain substance and drug substance na Salone. Because first time, now what to be na jamba no be no more. Cannabis sativa. Jamba na people them they produce. But now, what you can see, apart from the domestic production jamba, man and they take jamba now, take tramadol, and mix out diamond bone, then call and kush. And na Cote d'Ivoire, they call it zombie. So the production level of local, in fact, I did one research report where they tell we say the new National Public Health Agency who get na Salone, they do a test on this kush for know the scientific composition. Then can find out say one substance they call methane, that's a Z. When the complex science name down, I may not go and go through that in Korea and also be for translator. But that substance, the poison, that chemical we get poison pass Iran or what they call cocaine. 75% that one they kill more instant. Now we don't the manufacture now. And the analysis they would that is we come to the current situation analysis them across the border now with other countries there. All man, the trend they show say this kush, then they catch with people in Guinea, and they catch with people then catch in September last 2023. If we all remember, then catch one Salome and a border inside Liberia again, when they care substantial amount of kush for sale. Then the same gonna Gambia. Gambia then they arrest up to for kush and cannabis they arrest up to I think at 2023 again. 93 people then. 78 of them one then they send as Sierra Leone'S then be then sell because na kush the transport then they go sell. Guinea we don't see the same. Recently we also see Senegal they go on. So it don't appear like say Liberia, Sierra Leone in particular, then Guinea, the Mano River Union base, we don't get the understanding how to provide with people then. What are they called local connections. They were the local connections with drug traffickers across the world. They come so much into the Mano River Union's place, particularly now we country. Now I make go write that short article then days here. So I asked the question, say, but for God's sake, Salone, we country, it don't become a narco state, it don't become a country where the only two about per now drugs, whether for manufactured drugs, for user and a salon, or for exporter, or also will they serve as a transit point for all that practiced within the commander. But me, the question we ask, WANEP, West African Network for Peace, now our organization, when a civil society organization, but they work with ECOWAS, then they work with also the West African Commission for Drug. You're not going to believe, say, they don't predict waiting they go so. 3 or 4 years ago, because remember from 2006 to 2009, Namina be the regional director for ECOWAS on waiting and called ECOSOC, a small ECOWAS small arms and security program. I'll be based in Bamako, Mali, but I'll be the work across West Africa. We get offices there, all National Commission for Small Arms and other stuff there, help for them for establishment and salon. They also work with the National Security Offices across these 15 member states or 16, make sure that the laws there, the policies then we related to not only small arms but drugs, together with the United Nations Office for Drugs and Crime, UNODC, another agency there, follow bill, particularly country that we didn't come up power, like what you say, we know say drug business be doing from Shaka 7 in 10. Then we know say also, but it can push surface during the war, with especially Jamba and the use of other one then. But after some time, we be there back, then put even the term for between 2008 to 2018, we began one regional program what they call West Africa Coastal Initiative. When a UNODC be put in place, but now for strengthening capacity building and law enforcement agencies, particularly for address the weakness that we border them, because most time people that we ask them more, what are the main drivers then? What did they trigger this drug trend where they increase every day? So, oh, West Africa, particularly Mano River, Union Salon, we get excessive border weaknesses. They also have border porous people that are not able to check point, they're not in at the border there. And absolutely we do have, because I know say we got over 190 something to 200 crossing points between Liberia, Cote d'Ivoire, and Sierra Leone alone. But my argument is we not be done left Sidom in the last 2 decades, now 23 years now we're done. We be done because if now with man call a state building project, we don't build with state institutions them. We don't get parliament don't give we law them, for example. If you check, we get law where they just revised in 2022, the National Security and Intelligence Act law, we provide for the establishment of a transnational organized crime unit, where now they bring all the other agencies then together, particularly what other one, 2021, where they established the National Law Enforcement Drug Agency. So we get a whole commission or authority where Najai Kaikadede now at the head of that law enforcement agency. And the law, Parliament give we law for make sure that they're able for deal with drugs. Then we get the National Security Office, they will get the police, they're all within that transnational organized crime unit. In other words, when it comes to decentralization, we get the process, the provincial security committees, we get the district committees, all the one in the way to Jankaba be left behind now in what we call the national security architecture, where for respond to threats, both external and internal threats to we human security and citizen security. And part of that, now transnational organized crime, like drugs. So the question, the dilemma now, after we sweat, some of we conceptually and try to understand and write only to know the sleep like with the study, for get policies for get law them with parliament legislate, we adopt them, then we establish and structure them. Then the ECOWAS and UNODC, as I say, UNODC become with this program for 5-10 years, what they call West Africa Coastal Initiative, where now be 6 countries no more, but Salon and Liberia and Mano River Union, when at the drug transit point, then be target there, get the equipment then, get a border patrol, get and teach them, train with officers there how to tackle this problem, even how to test. Then ECOWAS brought cross-border program. Then the African Union border program also get provision for strengthening cross-border initiatives then, including air, land, and sea. We even established what they call the multi-agency threat and risk analysis for airport, the civil aviation security framework, whatever they made. Then under UNCLOS, United Nations Law of the Sea, we also established a maritime security arrangement for border for maritime patrol at the EEZ, the exclusive economic zone, at the inshore economic zone. So the question they ask it, we all learn structure, institutional framework, decentralization process of the security system. Then we get the laws, we get the policy. What is the problem now? Why the trend increase? And that is where I'm confused. Is it because, and I agree with you, is it because of corruption? Is it of state capture? Is it because of socioeconomic factors? Naneka say, Nami article say, I think saying a term we for now ask with Parliament, say, look, we get the National Security and Intelligence Act. It provides for the National Security Council when His Excellency now in the chair of that committee, they now responsible for the threat to our national security. What is the national intelligence requirement to tell we? What are the trend? Is it time that Parliament for set a commission of inquiry for all the institutional structure, because then make the law them, so that we take store, waiting make we don't get all the law there, we don't get the policies there, but who side the problem they kill we picking them now, then they turn zombie, then of course it don't become our international image has become problematic, and the signs that if they are weak, because all sides of the world research on the social, any side we drug cartel, then they who side drug trafficking, then they localize structures, they get network connected in local communities, now village there. I remember I go campaign at Wutai. You know, when I don't believe, say 2022, I went to Wutai. That different type of drug, they call a Gaddafi now, which then they smoke, we pass tramadol, they pass other kind of things. So then they don't permit, they don't go inside with local, the rural settings they did it now. So when me, in my own view is that, so then drug cartel, they don't localize the network, they don't infiltrate. How do we root there on? And I really the forget say, we're not going to go down there. In my honest view, as they carry the conversation, maybe I'll get 1 or 2 suggestions we will throw out there, but I think say it is hard time that our parliament and the government, particularly our parliament, because parliament in democratic situation now then supposed for oversight the implementation of the laws the way that they make, because the laws president just sign them. But for example, if the president is chair of the National Security Council, how much have he spoken to us about the threat? What is the threat they show? Because now they manage the instrument of national power. But from where this thing they happen, unfortunately, me as a chairman, leader of a party, I know you're nothing from the president. Then secondly, I believe, say, from my experience, my institutional memory, now aim for protect the sovereignty of our nation from external threats, such as transnational organized crime. Whether it's the chairman of the Defense Council, and the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, but also now the chairman of the National Security Council for doing to human security. But we know you much. Then second, so I think say it's hard time that we ask Parliament for set up a commission of inquiry because with what is going on wrong, why the institutions, they know they function, they know they interact based on the laws they will get and the structures then for mitigate drugs and reduce the threat. So now stop there for now.
Okay.
Any follow-up, Mr. Jamburia?
Yes, we're having a discussion. It's not a question because what in
Okay, go ahead.
Me and Dr. Sandy, they talk from the same platform, but we are looking at the issue from different perspectives. You see, I'm glad the way you don't inform we say then get structures there for the West African sub-region. And I'm glad the way you inform we about the Mano River Union Initiative, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea. And I believe you go agree with me, say, in as much as the drug problem is all over West Africa, but it is not as acute in Guinea as it is in Liberia and Sierra Leone. And I believe say I know the reason why Guinea able control what in they go on. Whereas in Sierra Leone, we not seem like able control what in they go on. The reason is, and Mr. Shillon, you go agree with me on that. A law is only a law when it is obeyed by those who make the law. When you make a law, but for one reason or the other, you try for always bypass the law for some economic reason, then the law not effective. What am I saying? In Sierra Leone, we get a situation that is so bad. Take the minimum wage in Sierra Leone. Take the fact that we get a population of over 60% below age 35. And 80% of that population where they below age 35, they not get relevant skills, they not get relevant access, forget proper welfare. That is what these drug people, they take advantage of. Interself talk and say, where you go Sarah Utile, and meet them get drug deal and they call Gaddafi. They have gone so deep into our society that it is alarming. I will tell you one thing today, Mr. Shillon. The global venture for controlled drugs is not only about the drug itself. It's about a demographic security. The Northern Hemisphere countries, then get an aging population. Who say over 60% of the people them are above age 55. The young population where they, most of them not a born boku picking. So the fear is, if they not take action for controlled drugs, that small number of active population, if they get hooked up in drug, that's the end of their civilization. This is how they look at it. But they will never say it. But at the same time, then they create efficient mechanisms for controlled drug use. And the mechanisms then they create not only legal instruments or enforcement mechanisms. They come with social, educational, and welfare mechanisms for take the people their attention away from drugs. They then get themselves engaged in gainful things. Are we doing that in Sierra Leone? If not, why not? So that is telling us, and I've been saying it over and over, that our problem in Sierra Leone is sociological, it's not political. It is our beliefs, our perceptions, and our attitudes. And I believe if we get for change Sierra Leone, we get for do a research into them things then they foresee what in need for change. Because it not only affect the politics, they polarize we. Now we don't go to even we continuity as a nation. Because now we imagine, say, this present generation, they all get hooked up in drugs. Sierra Leone is finished. It's finished. The foreigners get for inherit we country. So, Dr. Sandy, in as much as we go look at all these mechanisms that have been put in place, which are correct, and if you ask me, maybe the only problem they have is they don't have the technical capacity to function well. And even there, it is because we not see them as relevant. If we see them as relevant, we go make the funds or go search for the funds for make them technically relevant and efficient. So as a politician, what do you think we should do to change these dynamics? Because the dynamics that is in Sierra Leone is not only one of people wanting to be willful or wicked. It's an issue that is instigated by abject poverty. And when they talk about poverty, not only material poverty, poverty of the mind. We have people who you would consider very educated, but they are so poor in the way they think. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, again, as a yes, just let me just
go ahead.
Yes,
I was just going to say, go ahead,
Yes, yes. The what should we do? The beginning is, remember, 1.5 years ago, I was one of the 13 candidates who came out clearly with a manifesto, just as the president did. Now, we as politicians, we put our vision through manifestos. And the vision of His Excellency President Julius Maada Bio was put in what we call the Big 5 changes. And just like Tijan Kaba had the IPRSP, the Interim Poverty Reduction Strategy born out of the Lome Agreement, Naimbe Drive, development plan for consolidated peace. We also, after Tijan Kaba, we get the Agenda for Change, which was PRSP 2 by World Bank, but the theme where His Excellency former Ades by Goma be choose na Agenda for Change, then in second term we push into Agenda for Prosperity. So that trajectory is what keeps informing us 5 year after 5 year. Now, when His Excellency Brigadier Maada Bio come in 2019 to 2024, 23, we enforced midterm national development plan. Then from there, in priority flagship, as you know, now be the education of Sierra Leone. And then it come with a translating vision in manifesto this last time, now as we go, into the midterm national development plan 2024 to 2030. Of course, me question why they expand to 7 years instead of 5 year way fall within a mandate. But the argument in some of the podium is that they wanted to see how for align in vision for the midterm national development plan for align now with the SDG goal 2030, where the sustainable development goals for alignment and then the agenda 2063. So in other words, if you watch the Big 5 changes where President Maada Bio talk about, it is time for us to take stock on the indicators. How much progress will they make? Outside the structural problem and why the drugs and the kind. For example, the 5 big changes, say 1, it's a fit salon. Number 2, goal number 2 is a human capital development. That is where, and then 3 is a youth employment scheme for increased youth employment by 500,000. Then number 4 is for enhance the national development plan, for enhance goal number 4, now for enhance infrastructure and technology. Then the last one is for enhance the transformation of a public sector service delivery architecture. Those are the 5. For me, if I'm holding His Excellency when I'm my opponent, now then 5 then they now are the whole I'm accountable for and assess the progress what they make on that. And therefore, in fact, is the International Development Plan also say, if we want, government is pushing those 5 waiting and call policy result areas then they. Now, it gets 30 enablers then way for support for achieve them goals then they. especially Fitzgerald, don't put flagship, the human development capital. Now the human development capital or human capital development, it got boku strand of strategies that we put. The one, like what you mentioned, are social protection for the age, for vulnerable girls, young girls, and that things that we for do education, health, and that. Then number 3, also talk about youth employment scheme. Then, but if you watch, the enablers then say follow achieve them, and they will for do 5 things the enablers them. One, now issues for do with diversification of the economy, for shift the economy, focus from not only the mining sector, although they get huge money from iron ore and bauxite, because the trend in terms of export earning, for example, we read the report, they tell we say 40% of our export earning are to China, Europe, and they come from the mining sector. So for the get iron ore, bauxite through Thai support, but when it comes to the agricultural base, the farming, there's so much structural problem we get. Access to finance is a problem. Who's farmer? Me say they do farming once they don't so. Now village are come last weekend. But yet, even access to loan, credit facility, not there. The National Cooperative Bank, the banks do not have that. So the second enabler is about governance and accountability. And this governance and accountability talk about corruption, physical discipline. Are we financially disciplined? In other words, which money, when it comes to public expenditure management, in terms of the national budget allocation, we don't see it clearly. Are we efficiently managing our national budget? Is there high public debt? Is there the wage bill? Is it heavy? How much we don't shift the amount of money we will get into productive means? At the moment, you go find out which the wage bill is high, employment rate is there. So what we see is we are basically a country of a consumer nation. 75% of our population after the campaign say we are consumers, we eat better. But how do we move that 75% labor force who are basic consumers to production and not see the interaction with the national development plan and the national budgeting process they can on? So people, the percentage of 58% or more people are extremely living in poverty, what we call multidimensional poverty. Now they live, they know they get things they for do. They also don't see the youth budge in terms of idleness. We not get manufacturing industry, the agricultural sector will say they stimulate, as I see also light self, they stay with the scrabble. Maybe in the next 2-3 months or 1 year ago, the technology in the energy sector go bam. But once we're not able to address 23 years now, since the war done, we're not able to address the structural challenges then they for improve, like you say, the social economic well-being of our people, for create jobs. Job opportunities are not there. So at the end of the day, at the value wages, as you say, the minimum wage, the value of the wages where people they are based on inflation around, how people can survive on that. So we need to re-engineer and focus. One, how can we be physically disciplined? For example, for travel, do we need it? How do we manage the national budget? We not go above like the recommendation. They say World Bank, they say between 22 to 23%. Now for we annual expenditure, public expenditure. The wage bill for the minimum, enough for past 6%. But yet, if you go check the wage bill every day, they take all kind of people and then the income inequality between the rich and the poor is heavy. So people who are there unemployed, the youth majority, and those whose minimum wage, whether the police or the security forces, then they see alternative weak governance, weak security arrangement border, then they are attracted to alternative drug thing. So therefore, for prevent people to looking at illegal drugs, traffic and manufacturing, making kush, then we need for come back to the drawing board and look at our macroeconomic issues, how we will manage money, the small domestic revenue they mobilize, for injector into production activity. How do we move the Okada boys? How can we move them from the urban cities to rural development? That has not happened. I am trying to push what we call a youth at risk through family initiative. I have communal land tenancies that I belong to communal, you and I, all of us. But do we have the capital to ensure that with our knowledge, our experience, we can be able to inspire the youth and the labor force to move to the productive land? That is where the dilemma is. And I hope as we start this conversation, one of the things we need to talk about also, how do we enhance a national dialogue on how do we fix the economy beyond illegal drug trafficking and organized crime? That would be very relevant because our budget management, in terms of public financial management, in my view, there are a lot of wasteful spending and off-budget spending on irrelevant things. We need to plan back that concept and make sure that we're able for free the money for invest in human when we say human development capital, we read to read. When we say creating job for 500 youths, we for think through which strategy. Does it mean small to medium enterprise go able for do it for we all, or do we need to revamp the agricultural sector or the manufacturing? Now let's find the first.
Thank you, Dr. Sandy. I see an informed intellectual speaking.
Indeed.
These are the real issues we should be discussing. These are the real issues. How do we move away from what we are by creating dynamic socioeconomic foundations for our society? And if you ask me, the political environment needs first and foremost for change. That idea of now me, now we turn, we need for change. Efficient governance in any society on earth is never achieved by a single political party or a single group of people. It is a dynamics of collective participation based on diversity. What do I mean? This man na SLPP, this na APC, this na NGC, this na that. They all come together, then put their opinions in place, then find the correct team, we get the technical capacity, then say, oh, now see how this will work. Like what in Dr. Sandy they talk so, these are things that should be working, but they are not working. Why? Because we over-centralize power. Even the approach for controlled drugs is very difficult in Sierra Leone, whereas in Guinea, it's not that difficult. In Guinea, from the time of Ahmed Sékou Touré, power had been decentralized to the point that within specific communities in a city or town, then get heads them what they call chef de quartier. The chef de quartier, it gets your own system of governance at that local community level. It gets in way of policing at that local community level. You go inside Guinea today, you enter any town or village, then they know automatically say stranger don't come. You go to the chef de quartier, they accommodate you, say, okay, we don't receive you as stranger. But in Sierra Leone, everything has to come from State House. And even when it comes from State House, it has to come from one person. If it's one person that we want to rule the country, well, let's sack all the civil servants and public servants. We have to begin to look at how do we allow institutions to work in Sierra Leone. Secondly, we are talking about high wage bill. High wage bill paying who? Because if the wage bill is high, then it should be able to pay those who are employed to ensure that policies and laws are properly executed. But if it is high wage bill for people who are riding air-conditioned cars, and those who are doing the work don't get well paid, if that man car with in drug, he gets 6 million for GAM, he dey take her. Now we dey encourage the crime now in society. Well, of course, we know say the crime is also up there. I know I don't go into that too much because we are dealing with Dr. Sandy here today. There, FIBA like say, he can't African blow people then what? Let us don't make it personal. But at the same time, we have to say it as it should be said. Dr. Sandy come with the issue of how do we have a national conversation. Dr. Sandy, the national conversation has started. I have started it. Without one year in business, without one year luckiest. I have no fear to say what I have to say for the sake of Sierra Leone. And I'm sure they are listening to us. We want to better Sierra Leone because Sierra Leone has so much potentials. But how do we make that country what it should be if we are going to continue to live with a polarized mindset? How are we going to make that country what we want it to be if we are going to continue to look for quick benefits? Because I have never seen anywhere on earth where drug dealers them money sustainable. Let us look at all those famous drug dealers the old oil report. Joaquin Guzman, El Chapo, he is in prison. Do we know where his money is? We don't. Pablo Escobar, he is in prison. Do we know where his money is? We don't. Name all of them. Blanco, what I mean they call the godmother. Name Osei Gulen. You name Frank Lucas, the black American, we start for sell heroin in America. Where are they today? Where is all the money they've gathered? It's all either seized or it has disappeared, because one thing about drug dealing, most of the money you then get, and they put on our walls, then put on our water well, and this, that, they rot in there. So why do I have to go and run for money where I not get for enjoy? Why don't I build or be part of building a sustainable society where if me not enjoy the money self, generations after me go can enjoy them? I think we need for do a lot of education as Sierra Leone for change the way we would think. As I say, our problem is basically sociological. Our belief systems, with perceptions, and with attitudes. And that is more so with us, the educated. We feel, say, when you don't get education, the automatic right for be a very rich man. It's not that way. You know, they go that way there. Let we sit down and begin to ask the questions. What do we do to ensure that we are able to control this drug thing? And if you ask me, all of the approaches now, because the legal frameworks are there, all of the approaches now should be sociological. Wage issues, community interaction issues, political participation and collaboration issues. And as you rightly say, maybe we should begin with Parliament. Parliament is the national oversight body. Let them tell us if they have a strategy in place to control this thing. It's not only about talking about what is happening now. Do we have a strategy that is sustainable? Let Parliament make that. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, if I may interject, let me just remind the audience that the lines are open in case anyone wants to call to make any contribution, to ask Dr. Sandy or Mr. Jamboria or me any questions, please feel free to do so. So the lines are open, and we'll go spend another maybe 10 more minutes on that, because we get some other topics like the anti-terrorism laws. But I want to make sure, say, Mr. Sandy or Dr. Sandy has, to his satisfaction, to address the issues here we talk about, particularly this drug scandal, where don't make we now so infamous, where we try to find ways about how we will curtail this bad name we will country to get, or even bring an end to it. And in particular, what Mr. Jamboria say, This has been going on for a long time, since the days of President Shaka Stevens. So I don't think, say, this is something we should be proud of, because as Mr. Jambore also say, we not see how that is good to, well, how that they help with national economy. We, in order to bring any money into the government revenue, and in order to help with economy. As a matter of fact, it make we a target nation where other people, other countries, they accuse we of, like the Gambians. Not forget, say, not too long ago, Gambians were accusing us, Sierra Leone'S, of being bad influence in society, particularly with respect to the Kush situation. And that Kush business, they also now be a matter of public health. Because Yero, Mr. Sandy say, then they mix one substance with another substance, then for make it more potent, then go put diamond bone or scrape into it, just for make it get instant effect, on the brains. So so it threatens public health, where we begin for allow that for go on. So there are callers who I don't want to keep on the line. I will just get some suggestions, but let me hold off on my comments. Let me take a few calls. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you call from?
Good evening again to Mr. Jallo, Mr. Shilon, and then Mr. Sandy today, our guest.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Well, this is Freedom Safari talk from Leicester. I just want to give first of all, I want to give Mr. Sandy a message, because you don't come and that way start about in composition or how you don't go around the country. I will make this message say the problem of Sierra Leone na governance problem. I know see they don't try a lot, particularly they don't try a lot. But why result they're not there? Now because of the type of governance we get. We in Europe now, yeah. There is no country where get mixed demographics. We will go one election for determine the president. Sometimes it could just become like a census, who died and boku pass the other one day. Now this dilemma then go left in Africa. So maybe Mr. Sandy, based in Europe for look at these issues. So we can talk to it today. Let me say this message say, if the effort that we don't put into governance, one foresee them in vain. I think it's time we try this other option for dismantle the governance in our state house. Because power for be distributed, like Mr. Jallo they say. You cannot have somebody look like what you might be do na Pujong or na that farm na how do they call it na Tihu. The relaxed mind we get, if they go na the north, you not go feel relaxed because go feel say in any territory. Why? Now because of the type of governance that we have. The Southeasterners, if they put box today, no matter they are suffering, they are going to vote for the SLPP. Why? Because they identify themselves with this political party. Consequently, now the other APC side, now the same thing in the north. Then people are wouldn't they vote for, they not get no way for help them. They have been in poverty and poverty is increasing. But these people think say when you see they say election, they say me are born SLPP, me are born APC. So this problem is going to continue if we not look at the other view. We will see the democracy where they go give in Africa, how they practice, and not the problem. Because the one way they practice in Europe, like at the few countries, them Switzerland, Belgium, Spain, we say demographics than they, different languages than they. The democracy is different. So make we look at that. Just briefly, because I want to go now, the drug issue they talk about. When I don't talk about and say don't start from sexual stealing, gone to Pakaba and Eskuruma, but this is not the first time this way it come towards the presidency. I want to know that too. The other attempt in day, Uti Misabi becoming age, maybe I know Misabi about sexual stealing that time day, but I know say and Eskuruma in time. they don't hold the Pakaba in time. They don't accuse Pakaba directly for say sabi the person or they associate with the person, and it's come out the same. But this is not the first time this. So therefore, this will be hard for solve. Because an Escobar in time when I see where they arrest the man, they try them, they can go, they will put them in an American prison. But this could be very difficult because the gentleman, the first gentleman, and his family has been accused. I don't know if the time numbers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I go left handed for me co-host them and my guest for talk about that or for respond if they get any. Let me check another call. Hello caller, what you know your name say the call from?
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, this Savali they call from Columbus.
Hello, Mr. Levely. Welcome. Go ahead.
Yes, I want to give me input. This whole drug issue in Salon is a menace and it's wrong and evil way everybody for fight for eradicate. One thing I know for a fact that everybody way they use drug money for do business or use drug money for sustaining life or acquire assets. They end fine, their property they can be easily be seized by those who they use the drug money for give them for buy their property then before you think that person don't seize na in hand and they not get no evidence for validate saying I'm a property this and so that property go end up or be forfeited by the drug lords or the drug pin or the people that were involved in that. I have a classic example. There's a gentleman, I know we'll call his name there. Then some Lungi down Mahera Road, right down Mahera Road now Lungi. That man they doing by Kuroma is eternal. He was one of them who was jailed for the planeway land na Lungi. That man was having money. When I say rich, he was having money, have assets. When Commodore jailed in Apaneva Road, the outcome of that was all the assets he buy under his girlfriend them, his brothers them, they're all seized and in hand. Able for going to court for claim none of their property then. Why? Because they all know saying that drug money he take buy them. They like as I talk to you, so they now wheelchair. He is now like a pauper. All of these people where they rely on for keeping money have been forfeited. They don't take and they don't even care for know who he is. He is struggling for even if I really say he don't die today, I will not be surprised. That now drug money. Because every drug money now solely they go destroy. Now family they destroy. And you know how many family go get for pray for you for where you destroy a brother, a husband due to drug intake and drug use. All of their family they pray for you. They begin to see you down for your halaki as you live your life before you die. As the drug pain. So me, I know they get worried about who that want do business in drugs. You end now they see on earth before you they even die. Either your properties have been confiscated by those who you believe that they will keep your property, they will take it. And that is wrong. And some of these things should happen as alone. We now the diaspora are perpetrating these things na salon because they use opportunities so get there and influence we on natives and for make them be part of the drug syndicate. Sometimes it happens and it is wrong. I mean your inputs for now. Maybe I will call back.
Please do. Thank you very much. Let me take one more call. Then I'll make a brief comment. Then we'll go to Mr. Sandy and Mr. Jamburia. Hello, caller. What's your name? Who's the call from?
Good afternoon, Mr. Sheldon and Mr. Jallo and Dr. Sandy. Concerned citizen calling from the United States.
Okay, go ahead.
Hello, good afternoon. My question is for Mr. Sandy. Mr. Sandy, since you have experience in this topic, especially this saga scandal that's happening in the country today. Mr. Sandy, my question for you is, what kind of reforms would you call for? And because for me, the way I look at this problem, I look at it from a national security standpoint, that the security apparatus in the saloon, I believe, is compromised. It's compromised not only by corruption, but I believe it's compromised with international entanglement. And even to some extent, I will go as far, I don't have evidence of this yet, but it has hallmark of foreign intelligence also participating in this nonsense. Because there's too many holes in this story that's been going on now for, as you yourself have testified to, for years. How compromised? Is the office of the presidency also compromised? And for how long? This it ties to even to the economic sector of the country. Some of our businessmen, are they part of this? Are they part of whatever in laundering money? And speaking about the economy, because this is tied to it, why do we have such a heavy monopoly in our economy? Why do we have few families that have so much control of our economy? We have a Lebanese family that have the sole right to import rice in Sierra Leone. So is our medicine. So is our petrol. You can go on down the list. Of course, everything is designed for corruption to be able to spread. Now, going back, what kind of reform? Because I truly believe part of my reform that I am advocating for is the death penalty when it comes to drugs in Sierra Leone, like high-end drug and drug trafficking. And I truly believe that we need to purge the whole security apparatus in Sierra Leone, including custom, borders, airport, everywhere in the country. But I will listen to what kind of reform you will call for, and what steps would you enjoin on the Sierra Leone diaspora to get more involved in our government instead of just on the sideline talking? What can we do? How can we get involved to make changes? I thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. All right, let me just say something very briefly, then we'll move on to the panel. There are a few things. Well, number one of the most ardent, conscientious listener ran a comment just a few minutes ago and say, we are good at identifying problems, but he is eager to know what sort of solutions are we going to suggest or provide. Well, so Mr. Jamboria, Dr. Sandy, I'm raising the question so it can get to you guys, so you can come up to satisfy the curiosity of the audience as to, we just can't point out problems all the time. Do we have any solutions? I'm sure you guys have mentioned one or two, but we'll go over them. Two, one of the callers talk about monopoly, and then in the midst of that, they talk about one solution, they come up with a death penalty for drug traffickers. Well, you know, in a general form, we know in a free enterprise system or in a monopoly, if it is true, then one person get the right for import rice. That should be a shame on the government, because say monopoly destroys competition. And then monopoly encourages inferior quality in products. The best determiner of quality product now for give access to those who are able to import certain goods. So with competition comes quality of product. With respect to the death penalty, I just try for hurriedly because since we are running out of time. With respect to the death penalty, it sounds good, but that is not going to be the solution for a variety of reasons. Death penalty, number one, is extreme. Number two, it's not like you see, when one is accused of drug trafficking, we have to accord that person all the necessaries for due process. You know, we cannot judge such a person which we are out of emotion. So we'll therefore give due process. So the question is our legal system set up in a situation where you talk about taking somebody in life? You get for make the system such that the chances of an innocent person being put to death are almost non-existent. So death penalty can only be, to me, in my humble opinion, something for consider only when we get a very sophisticated, highly well-balanced system, or for make sure say an innocent person is not put to death, because there are all kinds of things that can go wrong. You know, someone can be framed, you know, and then that person end up losing his life, probably has nothing to do with it. Mr. Jambore also talk about this drug money not benefits people them. Then I think one of our callers them or two of our callers them kind of double that in the sense that it's true. Because you get for hide the money, the proceeds from drug, you can never keep them, you will go easily access them. And it's unfortunate because, as Mr. Jambore say, most of them drug money they then go put on a bush, then go put on a hole, then go put on a wall. And in the end, when you die, unless someone knew this is where you kept your money, that will be the end of that money there. So you wonder, but this is just human nature. What makes anyone for go through for traffic drug where he can't even enjoy the money, he can't even spend the money with the ease with which somebody where they work for money for be able to spend them. So there are so many things we get for look at. So me just bring all them things and they as we call us in the call. But I would like Mr. Jambore and Mr. Sunday for please just come up, suggest some solutions with respect to some of these drug issues that we want to talk about. And so let me go to Dr. Sandy. Please, sir, give us your take, some suggestions as to how do we go about this lawlessness of drug trafficking. But I do know, with the little women known in America, with a little, because I used to be a criminal law practitioner, I did drug cases, long time ago. I do know, say, you cannot solve drug problems without sophisticated undercover agents of the government. You cannot solve a drug problem at all because and then like Mr. Jambore say, you cannot solve the problem if the power is so highly centralized that the locals are unable to be involved or rendering their own judgment, because by the time they come to the central government, like the president, a lot of things will have taken place that will not have made whatever is in operation that effective. But let me go back to Dr. Sandy. Dr. Sandy, take it from there, sir, and just give us your own take on some of them things here. What would you talk about?
Yeah, I think, thank you, Lawyer Shillon. Let me take the opportunity for thank you to the callers them. As many of them will talk with passion, especially related to bad governance and the ineffectiveness or corruption around this issue here. So I particularly go respond to the question where we brought out the concerned citizen rates from the US. They say after we don't diagnose all them problems, so especially me fear that if we talk in two strands, as I'd say, the trade in terms of illegal trafficking, now one, but the new one, apart from the Chaka Steven, the war, Jankama and Escoma, but now the problem really we see in terms of expansion of the local network, the local people them, where they don't take drug sale as an opportunity cost for even ride Okada or for even going to farm or do petty trading. Like way one of the callers say, he give that example, but one with Fambun Alunge Airport where they live in my area or some part of Titanfo. Now, people that don't see this as an opportunity cost more money than inside the GOG for sell Jamba, but not only Jamba Kush and Gaddafi or Zumbi or whatever done. So the domestic production, how we go stop that? Then second, how the illegal trafficking will be able to stop that. But first, maybe me respond will be make us say we go take three approaches. One, apart from the aspect of promoting socio-economic alternatives, then based on the national midterm development plan before counted back. But I think say we get for ask Parliament, because I then make the law them for them supposed for even oversight the National Security and Intelligence Act, the National Drug Enforcement Act 2021, all that, we make them provision and then the policies them. The reason why that's important is that follow we able for know who's the problem and they. Now, in terms of the local police partnership board, outside the communities themselves, now border communities and local communities, they will be not established with local policing strategy. Outside you create every community or section below the section chief, you get the police, they interact, the local unit police commander, they interact in team, then they interact with local community. And then the reason is we call and say it help you for push with the intelligent-led operations. Reverend, Lawyer Shillon, you talk and just now say USA on this in America, and then but fight what you call transnational organized crime or what they call asymmetric warfare. Till they see, because drug not to the conventional war or arms trafficking not to conventional war. But until they pass from one community to the other, but the trend where they should not say the local people and their network, then the drug barons, the giants, they don't use them, and then they go through their local community, particularly in border regions and towns, outside and they do that and achieve it and they pass. Take like the Black Johnson on disabled, although the police say they don't say anything where they suspect. Saying anything of security danger after they don't go inspect the boat. But the boat, Mr. said, be they tongue and go see around the way they make a stand on the staff then they. A boat was example, see whether they smuggle with, because I work in fisheries department. I know in resources, them times better than they quite the kind people than they push with. So I think say Parliament for do this commission of inquiry for one, follow able for support the process of investigation, prosecution, and conviction, and on the of there what they go find, because again, as we all say, maybe this involves state capture, involve corruption, involve poor payment of people. But the only thing we go able to do for know that now for name we set a commission of inquiry. That report go there. Go able for know how for strengthen the institution and structure, also the weakness then they so that then go able to highlight them. The second aspect for me in terms of response will also be how Sierra Leone are signatory to international treaties and protocols where for do transnational organized crime, whether all the policies related to the African Union, counterterrorism strategy, organized crime, the ECOWAS, the United Nations, and because we get mechanism, for example, in 2014-15, I was part when I been seconded to the African Union, we were able to establish what is called the AFRIPOL, the African Police Coordinating Liaison thing, way similar to Interpol. Then for Fed criminal justice system, strengthening national capacities at member state level so that they're able for exchange information, intelligence, and track transnational organized crime on what do they call non-state armed groups, the way that they perpetuate that. So I think if we get a mechanism and the Interpol, the AFRIPOL, the European Pol, they will get the West African Drug Commission, they will get the transnational organized crime units in every member state. I think since we don't get our obligation, we don't sign to treaties and protocols, so we collectively, globally, we go fight transnational organized crime together. So now Saloni responsibility for we call, either from the diaspora level, for put pressure or ask government that we need a joint assessment mission. And that joint assessment mission there for can see what went wrong, particularly when it comes to drug trafficking, when a phenomenon where don't engulf West Africa as a general. Then we'll be able to foresee how the Interpol and others, the intelligence services community can able for investigate this, especially related to the recent incidences. Then that will be able to support the criminal justice system in terms of investigation, prosecution, and eventually they will convict them people. And now strange, 2008, after the airport incident where even though Honorable Kemosi said later they be free him, but the Mexicans and the drug barons, they when they captured that thing during that raid day, that counter surveillance day, they went through investigation and prosecution, and some of them were convicted for 20 years, 10 years, 15 years, and that. So there's nothing not to think about precedent for saying for deal with them, because if we not deal with the culprits then now, then at the end of the day, as I say, the expansion of local networks, society they say cushion every corner, will continue, production level will increase, we go some side and the way they say and they plan it. And of course, we don't see say domestically kush, now they make and now they what they make and so they get assemble the ingredients there, and so then they traffic along the rest of West Africa. So one, we get for stop production, for dismantle hot pursuit. Then second, we get for see how for dismantle the illegal trade. But that will depend on, as I say, one, we need for government itself, because I should say government can go on, although we have commissioned the police, Inspector General's investigation, but I think it's not enough, because the oversight, the parliamentary oversight and accountability committee for defense and security, where they sign them lawyer, they need for counsel because not then law for see, because I'm not trying to say I doubt what the police will do, but one of the things where they go on in many of the societies and many of the perception studies they will don't do even as across Salone, and it's very clear inside the national midterm development plan. Now the lack of public trust in state institution. So who say trust not there? People do not trust the police, they not trust the intelligence services, they not trust the judiciary, they not trust the court. So it is time for we rebuild the trust of their institution, and we need for reflect on them, we need for take stock on them, we need for review the functions and mandate. For example, one of the things where we don't come with the campaign with the talk say, even the selection and recruitment process, the professionalism of people that they head the institution and the technical expert, this. Are they really being selected and recruited based on regional balance, tribal balance, and efficiency, or based on terms of preferences? Do they have the capability for really do that kind of work in terms of supporting the covert operation, investigation, prosecution, and conviction. Maybe they are not. Maybe the state capture phenomenon. Now one tribe or other people then, on a one party thing. Do we have to go through? Now make a glad that goal number 5 of the National Midterm Development Plan 2024 to 25, they say how we transform the public sector so that the public sector will be professional, will be efficient. So maybe it's not only about the civil service or the other sector, but even the military, the police. We need to take strategic functional review for, say, the capabilities that will get there, both in terms of human capability, institutional capability, are they the right type of people to do this work, or whether they're efficient. And therefore, we would need the international support in that direction to reinforce, whether through UNODC, the African Union, ECOWAS, or any other agencies where they do with, it could also be through bilateral cooperation with our sister organizations, then, whether the United States can help or the UK, because I was trained and bred during the days with Kaba, with UK security and intelligence services. So we all get that collaboration level of cooperation. But I think we need to take stock of the national security architecture, as well as the laws and instruments then for do that. Then even the local governance institution, if we find the communities are collaborating and conspiring, they also need to look at that. But as I say, for even in terms of prevention, we also therefore go through the National Development Plan and make sure that the goals that will be done really where government will not approve, where the national budget proposed to 2025 allocated to, especially the one we for do with how do we enhance job creation for 500,000 youth in terms of their scheme, their increased food production, so that we shift the notion of Sierra Leone being a consumption of narco state and then to a productive state, where we're able to export earning through the African Continental Free Trade Agreement to go able for increase. Because at the moment, we export earning in terms of crops and livestock and other things, not only in West Africa, not only 2.something%, the rest of Africa are 3.something%. So even 450 million people in West Africa alone, not only 2% will be able for export earning. It's not good. So we need to shift that so that the mind in terms of productivity, we go invest more into that rather than wasting our money, wasteful spending for travel or for highway bill. We need to shift the budget formula from current expenditure to development expenditure. We're going to have 3 budget lines and the expenditure lines in our government. We cut down on current expenditure, which bill, make sure that we invest more money into development expenditure through capacity building of youths, and then to prevent them to go into drug business and trade. And of course, for deal with the transnational organized criminal networks and through international courts, so that if the investigation and the results show, we can prosecute them through international court. We are signatories to the international criminal court system. If Natiwe extradition need, then we need to do that for some of those ones we find wanting in our country across the region. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Sandy. Let me turn it over to Mr. Jamburia. Mr. Jamburia, what is your take on the issue of drug trafficking and this transnational syndicate crimes? So how do we deal with it in terms of solutions, like one of our callers then talk? You get any proposals as far as solutions are concerned? If so, please just give us your 1, 2, 3 on it.
I think Dr. Sandy virtually don't say most of what we need for say. The only thing we go emphasize here is, let us look at Sierra Leone in terms of the following: preventive mechanisms. Because whatever drug issue is affecting Sierra Leone today is highly linked to a global network. How do we prevent it locally? What measures do we need to come with? And if we get for prevent them locally, We therefore look at undertaking measures that will bring quality of efficiency, not quantity in efficiency. What do I mean by this? We know say that they recruit police force members every year. We know say that they recruit into the army every year. Do we need that quantity? Why can't we have a small but efficient force that has the equipment and the wage we go make everybody as a police officer satisfy and difficult for be bribed? The number of police, now we left for politicized institutions. So now we party then a power, so now we recruit for border, let them then at the police, let them then at the army. We are kicking, we are shooting ourselves in the foot. Create a small but efficient force, especially in this day of technology with AI. If you have a small and efficient force, then you decentralize the functions of policing the country. You get people in communities who are provided with the equipment. Then some of these things can be controlled. But look at Dr. Sandy in Freetown, even the electricity for make it talk to we, no problem. How do we expect to curb a problem that is global, where they affect the country? We don't have the equipment. We don't have the trained force. The training. Yes, for go through training school, now one thing. Forget the efficiency for detect and deter. It's another thing. So let us put emphasis on preventive measures as well as quality, not quantity. Quality of efficiency, not quantity in efficiency. I think this is the direction we need for look at. Even with the public service, rather than we they give jobs to people, we they give money to people as consultants, get a small public service, pay them well, train them well for them to do their jobs. We don't need all them consultants here if we civil servants are able to do their job. Honestly. Every ministry in Sierra Leone has 3 wings. You get a technical wing, when are technicians, then they are technocrats. You get the administrative wing, they get the financial wing. Get a small, efficient service, take the technical wing, make them very efficient, pay them a wage that will make it difficult for them to be corrupted. But again, as I said before, poverty is a state of the mind. When we are poor in mind, we do everything poorly. And of course, we know, say, some of them here will talk them for now, but they may not be practical, except maybe Parliament comes in and begin to ask the relevant questions. Then we may begin to see efficiency. But if Parliament does not come in to ask the correct questions, the same bit shall go on, because most of what we are talking about drug today, people in high places are involved in it. So how do we stop them? May God help you. And so we brother Mr. Tairu, and they tell us, say, when they talk, they listen. Solutions wise are they talk. And not they only talk for condemn, and if I mean not they discuss problem. Our solutions are they talk the problem and give suggestion. Yes, sir, Dr. Sandy.
No, one of the two have way to make the emphasize on this strategic review or commission of inquiry, because you know, in the recent national security policy where President launched back, I see some elements there. And the same way we established that institution, then one of the things we then at the National Security and Intelligence Act, now the CISO. CISO na Central Intelligence Security Unit. We get about that one then they now the all covert operations side of the national security system. And the idea is now then for be deployed for espionage and transnational organized crime. They have left that organization day, in the state house, they go find for know whether where with the with embassies, with foreign permanent missions to New York, to African Union, to our embassies were critical, whether we don't deploy them. Is it wise to deploy media or press attaché, or you deploy, train and qualify people that have a regular orientation on espionage and intelligence services? Because the UK, for example, have what they call MI6. America gets CIA, Russia getting KGB. Even in terms of economic security agenda, we are trained in economics. But when I went to Manchester University, I do studies. My thesis were how to look the economic dimension of national security. It also involved espionage. It also involved a number of analyses, including drug trafficking. So it go find to know how we, through the foreign ministry, we don't deploy people that embed them inside our embassies and permanent mission for track, work with other member states and regional organizations for deal with transnational organized crime. It will be good to know. But I don't feel up to now, I just will get defense attaché, which is from the military. I just will get press attaché, but I know one day we deploy the one with taxpayers, the parliament approved from the Central Intelligence and Security Unit. Say they are trained on covert, they are trained on surveillance, they are trained on many. Some of them I know we don't train in Israel, we don't train in Boku, but then back no more some sign, and they are frustrated. I don't know if they are involved in tracking our exponent and international foreign intelligence. I just want to make that point. So you go final review the whole system, the law and the work, the institution there, whether the right people then are they deploy our foreign mission then, because we live in a world of globalization and regionalism. For Leone'S Salon as a small state, 8-point-something million for survive. Nama Butuma watch. If we not get that capability, then go to work with like bullet, then I make all kinds of work by on the partner we ate. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, as Dr. Sandidi say, we get for focus more on the border, on the borders, because everybody knows we share a border with Liberia, we share a border with Guinea, and they are on another borders, because then countries and they will get more than one border. We get borders at the north, we get the eastern part, Kalam district, the Kwendu area. We get different places of all that corridor, they all the way from the north all the way Kandom. Then on the Kenema district side, we get that situation there. So one, this is why when we talk about decentralization, I believe in it too, because I think I have always been a critic of the Local Government Act. It was an unnecessary act, and it's not an efficient act, and it does no good. In fact, it undermines the efficiency. That act of itself must be revisited. It undermines the efficiency of an effective government, because I give a good example. When I was growing up in Kalam district, in my younger years, way back in the 50s, we would get what you call any native administration messengers. That's how they were called. As time went on, in the 60s, they decided to give them a more prestigious title by calling them NA Police, Native Administration Police. But I think they give them the name, but they not give them the function will go along with it. So you need to forget the police for coordinate activities with the local government, the central police, forget some kind of training, whether for the local police them, in terms of investigative techniques. And then, of course, you go teach them all how to investigate, how to do surveillance, how to transfer information, how to do undercover work. But goes with that is, what do they do? When we left Sierra Leone, the local police them not get any means of transportation. Maybe we don't reach a point where maybe the local police them, in every chiefdom, particularly the border chiefdoms them, where they forget some means of transportation like a motorbike. So upon a moment's notice, they can move from point A to point B. But until such time where we go get the local police them for work in coordination with the central police, the system will never get efficient at all, because we get a lot of cross-border drug trafficking, both ways, going in and coming, going out and coming in. So with training, like Mr. Sandy said, is very, very important. We have to have trained people. But no, the training is not enough, because anything we can train you for, you get better at anything you train for when you do them regularly or often. You don't get good. That's why, you don't get good at anything where require practical training if you know they practice them. So if you go, like Dr. Sandy said, if they train you in Israel, then train you in America, then train you anywhere. But if you just come home, then you become a bureaucrat. You just in an office, they're not to put you to work, you go lose your skills. So the country not to get a good return on investment. So we just get to take some practical things then, like what Dr. Sandy and Mr. Jamboria, then they talk about. But my thing is, this local government act should be revisited. It does the country no good where we want to take what the local government act take away authority from local government, city council, district councils, then put her in the hands of one minister who doesn't even know what's going on. And they say, now him for be the one for agree or disagree or give the final say so. So like a town like Kwendu in Kalao district, unless the chief get more authority, unless he get a drug enforcement capability, what is a minister where they all the way in a freedom in terms of local issues like drug trafficking across the border, how efficient or how effective is it going to be? So we need to put some common sense into what we try to do. We are good at naming things. Let's be good at doing things. So that's what I get to say. Of course, we're almost out of time. So I'll go really ask Dr. Sandy for give me a closing. And then, of course, we'll go follow that up, which we on goodbye. So Dr. Sandy, next to you, sir.
Yes. Just my final one is, again, I want to thank you for the callers them and the contribution, you, the panelists and co-hosts, you and Lawyer Shilon and my brother, Mr. Jambori. Now, this conversation, as I say, we don't start on today, but we don't put out a number of articles out. But I think not to get for die so easily, because we still get caseload them whether they go through investigation, whether our embassy in Guinea-Conakry, and then we also get the case of Omar Sharif, alias some other name. So we still get in case, and then above all, we get this aspect of domestic production, which still take place. As I say, the data or the information when we privy to, they will see expansion they take place in terms of local network. The drug barons, the drug criminal organized network, they're not just talking at global level or Southern America or Europe, but they don't spread to Africa, then they West Africa, they don't reach now the Mano River Union space as well. So the reason why we're taken serious is twofold. One, it undermines national security efforts in terms of peace and stability and consolidate with democracy. So we need drugs, as we all listen, drug money not good, even with democracy. Some man go use drug money for campaign, and therefore when they capture the state in America, they say drug barons, then they get the tendency for fund campaigns, and when campaign financing for election come in, once they catch, they install a presidential candidate of the choice, then that country they definitely become a narco state for them. Now then with the traffic, now then with the all kind of thing. So really therefore be careful. Because drug trafficking are risk. It's a risk for consolidate to democracy, as I say, for state building. Then also a big risk even for implement what we call the big five changes where President Madabio Bidon envision Bidon will translate into the midterm national development plan for 2024 to 2030. The reason is then 5 goals then they will get for do as they say the enablers for them push them 5 whether for fit salon or human capital education. It depends on the youths. It depends on the labor force. But if the labor force, they all now they don't turn, then they gradually turn zombie. Then it's because of push, domestic production, and then all man they smoke, all man they this. Would they now go put in the farmland them for produce food? If we can't get manufacturing industry there today, like we there on technology, energy, and other stuff now, we go really struggle for getting manpower for them to do that. Because the labor force, like when Mr. Jambo be say, the one that will Abu Palm, the one that will for take after with the next generation, now they will destroy. The opportunity will get huge budge, yet when they're not gainfully employed, they make sure say the education system tampered with drug abuse. I've been in a church today. One of my church members they tell me say in Pekin, if they do well so much, he send out now with former school, it move from SS1 to SS2. It do physics, chemistry extremely well. Then after some time, the Pekin, now he is all back for going inside push. He never go collect it today. I get me young cousin them back with them Pekin and at the same time, and they go through this drug abuse. The Pekin and never forgot, and they cry, and they can't go to church, and they can't go to mosques, and they can't go sad. Everything that they do for them Pekin and mentally stable, they then come up at this drug addiction, but it's not a work. Then they monitor. So I think, as I say, we need to take it serious. And one last point, my co-host them is that this thing, when I say transnational organized crime, meaning it cross across border. If we say we institutions, then we need under the 15th protocol of the Mano River Union, when Côte d'Ivoire, Sierra Leone, Liberia, and Guinea they inside. Now we get the Secretariat in Freetown. I wonder why all this thing they pass. The Mano River Union Secretariat, where they don't accuse Liberia, they don't accuse, I mean, we all know since Sierra Leone production, they take them push. Now Sierra Leone, Liberia, more, and they say that they manufacture the synthetic, then they spread that, and Guinea, Gambia, and that. But yet to get the Mano River Union Secretariat, which was established in 1973. And then in we see how this way we signed back, include a peace accord onto that, what we call the 15th protocol of the Mano River Peace and Security Council. We don't establish joint border confidence building units, them, joint border patrol units, them, but they go on. So I think we go ask, as this conversation is start, it will start at the national level, but we also need the Mano River Union conversation, especially when it comes to what they call common cross-border land, communities, socio-cultural thing, then the sociological aspect that Mr. Jamaribe they talk about across the common border. So the Mano River Union itself will go for interrogate why they look at this drug issue that they kill with people them across Liberia, Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Côte d'Ivoire, because Côte d'Ivoire itself is very serious the way they look the data there. They call them zombie. So now that will stop. So far, we need for consider drug as a risk to the National Development Plan implementation, the Big Five change, organized, even assassination. People that they die automatically lead to armed violence. There are direct relationship, drug money. So I will stop for that. And then lastly, as I said, we need for focus also on how for engage the Mano River Union Secretariat, like how we deal with Ebola, global health crisis, when they themselves consider the new role they go play in terms of bringing the member state together. Even the stalemate between Sierra Leone and Guinea right now because of when embassy involved, they're not able for pinch will never be one diplomatic shuttle for resolve that. Over to you, sir. Thank you once again and God bless.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sandy. Next to you, Mr. Jamboria.
Well, I think also we don't reach. Now, for tell the listeners, then thank you for where they can listen to. And I believe, say, Dr. Sandy come with a lot of points, them where we don't discuss. But the conversation does not end today, especially so with issues connected with a social problem. You cannot solve it overnight. So I will just implore Dr. Sandy, let Fentem, let we go come back and continue this conversation. Because this is part of the solution. We have to be discussing these things. We have to have diverse views like the callers them, waiting and say. Then I think gradually it will begin sink in the society, say, this thing happening can be solved, but we need to look at this, look at this, look at this. If we say no more, we left everything to government for solve them, well, it will continue until thy kingdom come. The reason I think we all know, law left not to that's not the issue now. The issue is how do we solve this problem? Because it is an existential crisis that we are facing. We not see the depth of this drug issue. We get a population that is very young. If all of these people get engaged with drugs, that means we don't kill the future of Sierra Leone. If even 25% of that population get engaged with drug, we don't put the future of Sierra Leone at risk. Because development is not about almost road on a bill. Now the human resource and ability for sustain what una they put together now in a development. And the very human resource we for put them things here and sustain them, now then will they destroy so with drugs. Especially the drugs that they manufacture locally. So how do we combat them? What social methods we get for use? Which political methods we get for use? Which security approaches we get for use? Which collaborative approaches we get for use? All of those questions have to be addressed before we're able to see a clear path going forward. And I go on to advise people them. Now I make a start in the beginning, say the drug problem has been there since the days of Shaka Stevens. And I told you now why he fall out with Ernest Chamel. Ernest Chamel, now the Maubin fund Shaka Stevens the elections in 1967. But when Shaki knew he was engaged with drugs, he said, no, buddy, you go away. He make him persona non grata in Drebana Salon. That man died in a French prison for drug trafficking. That was not said to the public at that time, but later we come for no say, na drug issue make them in scatter. So we get for look at all the things that happened. So from that time to now, Bakaba in time, we know what in be there happened. Say one of him picking be involved, about they go die in Lagos. And Escoma in time, we know what happened. Then now we see the problem don't become bigger. So please, let us don't politicize this issue. It's an issue that should be treated above and outside politics. We know people in the top echelon of society are involved in it. We know. But how do we solve it? How do we control it? What kind of socioeconomic initiatives we get for come with? Now I make when Mr. Tai who say they talk the problem, them answers, they are not to one person they give answer. As society get for decide, say, okay, this is a problem for us, let us find the solution. But for say, hey, not to me business, now we all business. Dr. Sani here don't confirm that. You fumble and don't him then picking and don't involve. He don't turn we all business. Mr. Say how they talk to I get fumble, they when them picking affected. So now me business. But say not to me business, now we left that, now look at how we go solve this problem. Because now problem what they threaten we country in existence. If all the young and energetic people then get destroyed, in the next 20 years, now foreigners they inherit Sierra Leone, those who are not engaged in drugs. And then we inherit the country. So if I go reach there, I tell Pambul and Tenki, for now listen to we, and I they implore Dr. Sandy, please feel free to be coming here. This is your place. Let us be discussing Sierra Leone here. We need to do that for Sierra Leone. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jamburia. Again, many thanks to Dr. Sandy. There were other topics we had in mind, but I knew based upon my experience with this show that there was a high likelihood that we're not going to be able to reach some of the other topics then. So Dr. Sandy is definitely welcome here. Anytime he chooses, just notify the producer and we will try to fit him into the schedule. Because what he get for say is good for the country. And also, let we realize, say, like for instance, Dr. Sandy, if he had time, we were going to ask him questions about the National Unity Agreement or the Bitumani Agreement, the current situations of in political party as well as the other small parties them, and the influence or undue influence of the bigger parties, APC and SFPP. But these are all subject for next broadcasting. So until then, thank you very much all for listening. We profound thanks to Dr. Sandy for taking the time and trying for give we as much information. And I'm sure we all will leave this program tonight with much more information or much more informed than all of us were before the program. So thank you, everybody. Good night. We will see you again next week.